Hey.
Boom, baby, we're live. Welcome to special episode today. We're going to be talking to you guys about the Inner Game Healing Summit. I'm here with Ryan from Inner Masculine, Paul, Apex Mindset, and the legend himself, the man who owns Toronto, Mr. Justin Mark. We're going to talk to you guys today about inner game stuff and so much more. But first, take a look at this video we have here for you today.
Hi, I'm Jonathan from the Masculine Empowerment Network, and I'm here today with another special message for you. As you know, I've just returned from my North American tour, which started in Miami, went to Orlando, Dallas, Santa Barbara, California, Las Vegas, Nevada, and ending in Toronto, Canada. A lot of you know I had the pleasure to meet you and get a chance to talk to you and see exactly what's going on with you in your life and how can I help you more. And I learned a lot. I met so many men and so many different walks of life, and I heard about your struggles. Struggles that didn't really come from the outside, but they came from the inside. Anxiety, depression, loneliness, addiction, feeling not good enough, hopelessness. All things that are detrimental to a man who wants to live an above average life. As you know, last year we launched the Inner Game Healing Summit. And after going on this tour and hearing your cries for help, I have realized that once again, it's time to bring it back. But we're doing it bigger, we're doing it better, and we're doing it for you. This year, we are bringing back the Inner Game Healing Summit, but we are giving you 4 times the value at a fraction of the cost. Starting on March 30th, we are re-enrolling members for the entire year. Because this year, what we're gonna do is in quarter 1, we will have 5 interactive webinar training sessions with our psychological experts, as well as quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. And when you sign up for quarter 1, you get access to all of the quarters for the rest of the year. In addition to that, you do get access to my Inner Game Healing video course, which is a self-help guide for you to maximize the principles I have used to heal my inner game to help me become the successful man that I am today. In addition to that, you'll also get access to the 1-year Telegram chat. And the Telegram chat from last year, let me tell you something. I couldn't believe what I saw, but this Telegram chat was self-sustaining with members helping each other, lifting each other up, and I was witnessing people being cured left and right. One of our members was actually able to land a 6-figure salary position with none other than Jordan Belfort himself after attending the Inner Game Healing Summit and clearing out his inner game issues, healing his traumas, and taking the next step in his life towards greatness. We welcome you to join us. If you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling depression, if you're feeling isolated and alone, if you're feeling despair, hopelessness, feelings of not being good enough, let us help you. We have helped hundreds of men last year, and we're going to help thousands and thousands and thousands more. Join us. Go to innergamehealing.com, get on the waiting list, and get ready, because we are going to be putting together something like never before. You do not have to be a slave to your inner demons. We will conquer them. We will do this together, and we will do it in the year 2023. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the inside.
All right, so there we go. That's us. We're going to be putting together the Inner Game Healing Summit. That's going to be having a March 30th debut. So as you guys know, if you want to be involved, go to innergamehealing.com and get on the waiting list. And then me and this team of esteemed gentlemen here will be talking about this. And just a quick rundown of how it works one more time. if you take a look here, quarter one is what we're going to do in the enrollment. So quarter one is only $297. Last year we launched it at $597. We had a ton of people sign up, and we only did it one time last year. And then for the rest of 2022, people kept on asking me, "Is inner game healing coming back? Is it coming back?" So it is back here, and we're upping the ante, and we're bringing in more pros. That's what we're going to be talking about today. But if you get in quarter one, you get access to 2, 3, and 4 for the rest of the year, totally for free. That's totaling in 5 sessions per quarter. You're not going to want to miss out on this. It's going to be really good value. And then this is what you get. Like I said, 20 webinars covering various techniques of healing your inner game issues, year-long Telegram chat, access to psychological experts in the course, and then a video course for maintaining mental health habits. So just go to innergamehealing.com right here and just put your email address in right here and get on the waiting list. We have people waiting since 2022. So the wait is over. Go ahead and sign up. And that's what we're talking about today. How's it going, guys? It's been a
great.
Can't complain. Good. Cool, man. So, yeah, we're talking about inner game. We're talking about this stuff. You guys all agreed to be here. Like for you, we are obviously been involved in this scene for a long time. 2019 is when I went live with this show, and we've kind of noticed like a pattern of these kind of issues coming up. Like, so this is kind of like an ambiguous term, inner game. So somebody want to take a stab at it. What would you say for the people watching? Like, what is inner game, and like, why is it the most important component?
That's a big question.
It is a big question. Right?
Try to keep it brief. That's my challenge.
No,
I mean, well, go ahead,
Paul. No, all right, so I'll take
a
stab at it. I look at it as 3 levels. You have your cognitive brain. You have how you look at the world. You have the narratives going on in your head, your mindset. But there's also, in addition to that, an emotional component, a subconscious component. And you really have to look at really just every aspect of what motivates you to do something, what motivates you to avoid things, what you're using to cope with certain painful emotions. And don't just look at, okay, here's the narrative that's going on. Here's your coping mechanism. You really have to get into the emotions, the subconscious, along with the narrative. And so I think the reason everyone paused at first is because there's so much depth to answer that question. What is inner game? And the biggest mistake I see, life coaches or psychologists or just whoever, when they're addressing inner game, or dating coaches or whatever, is they don't go and look at all factors that contribute to why are you stuck? Why are you not moving forward? Or why is this person succeeding and this other person isn't? What are the things that are driving this person to kick total ass? You know, because we want to get some of that in your inner world too.
Yeah. Well, you want to look at it too, because there is a lot of depth here that we're going to talk about, and that's why it's hard to come up with a concise definition. But I mean, you look at what's on the surface, it's like a glacier. You know, you got what you can see and what you're aware of. What everybody else is aware of is just this tip of an iceberg, and then there's all this stuff that's underneath. And the thing about addressing all that stuff, I mean, is as Ryan said, you know, there's different levels of what's going on in your mind. And I look at it as we have our instincts, you know, and our instinctual drives and stuff like that, our mammalian brain drives, reptilian brain drives. And then we have our unconscious mind, which is Ryan deals a lot with that with hypnosis. Justin deals with that too with meditation. I do it in different ways, and it's dealing with things that are not quite on the surface, but are still part of that human brain. It's a combination of behavior and emotions and thoughts and past experiences that basically worked for you in some way, shape, or form in the past, but now they formulate your current condition and behaviors. And some of those behaviors and conditions and emotions are not serving you well today, but they were an adaptive thing in the past. So for example, you went through some childhood trauma, had a way of coping with that as a child. Well, that left an imprint in your unconscious mind and left a response mechanism for you to respond to current things. But those things might not be, useful today. And so it was once maybe useful, or at least allowed you to survive, even if it wasn't the best solution, is no longer useful. And so it ends up holding you back, ends up not allowing you to get what you want. And the big thing is having awareness of those things, which is the major challenge. And then when you can be aware of them, then how do we change our responses and then our behaviors, and our logical framework as well as our emotional framework, and then our behavioral ways of handling it. And so it's about changing stuff, but you have to take it beyond the logical discussion of, let's say, cognitive behavioral therapy, because the mind has different levels. So what we're doing here as different experts is we're putting people in different states of consciousness and awareness in order to see things from a different angle, and then to be able to have that insight and make those changes. So things like hypnosis is one way of, seeing things from a different angle, different way, digging through your unconscious mind and having a different kind of awareness than just a logical understanding. Meditation is a different way of understanding things. And sometimes the meditation is actually clearing out the distractions so you can see things more clearly. Things like EMDR, things like breathwork journeys, stuff like that. That things that I might do with somebody, these are all things that allow a person to experience a different state. And then in that different state of awareness, they can have that insight and actually make those changes and make them very, very quickly. Whereas maybe years of therapy might not do it. Or if it does, it takes a longer amount of time because they're only hitting the problem from one state of consciousness. You know what I mean? And so there's sometimes it can work quickly, but oftentimes it's not. So it takes a long time, so that's what's good about what we do. Right.
Justin, what would you add up onto that?
Yeah. So when it comes to money, muscles, game frame, a lot of guys are stuck in cycles of self-sabotage. So it's crazy how when you have all this like weird trauma and baggage, doing things that would be additional to your life, such as making money, dating, developing high-level soul skills, it actually becomes very difficult when you have a lot of self-sabotage, because similar to what Paul's talking about, all those past traumas, they're not there to make sure you're successful. They're there to keep you in place and keep you alive, right? So a great example of this is maybe in 7th grade, a girl rejected you. And now every time you see a beautiful woman you'd want to talk to, you kind of reject yourself to avoid the ridicule of public embarrassment or feeling bad about yourself, right? And so the huge issue there is now every time you see a beautiful woman who'd be attracted to you, because you might have developed yourself to be a much more attractive guy, socially, emotionally, but what's actually happening is your subconscious brain's in control, right? Back to the whole tip of the iceberg concept, 90% of your actions are subconscious. So by working on your inner game, you're actually getting your subconscious brain on your side. For most people, I'd say 95% of people, their subconscious brain is not on their side. Their subconscious brain is self-sabotaging, causing weird issues. And that's why you see a lot of issues in family relationships. That's why you see a lot of issues in intimate relationships. That's why you see a lot of people stuck at dead-end jobs that they don't like and living a life they're not happy living, right? And so it's super important for men to work on their inner game, their inner self, their character development, trauma release, and let go, whether it's using hypnosis, whether it's using psychedelic therapy, whether it's traditional therapy like cognitive behavioral therapy, but to figure out what the root cause is and solve that issue. That's what's the most important. And then you'll find, making money becomes very easy. You'll find game becomes very, very easy. I come from a dating coach background, and I find that this is probably the most important thing I see in my clients, where when they actually work on their inner game, once they work on their mental blockages, all of a sudden they're dating beautiful women. They might have been on a 8-year dry spell. I actually had a client last week who hadn't been intimate with a new woman in 8 years. And he hadn't been intimate with any woman since his ex-wife 4 years ago. We did a little bit of this inner game stuff. We did trauma release meditation. He starts crying. And in a 2-day period, he was intimate with 4 new women from Tinder, right? So it's crazy how quickly you can shift that with, sure, the right strategies with dating, but also with working on the inner game stuff. And it's very similar to making money as well. You'll see a lot of guys will make a ton of money, then they'll blow it all, right? You'll see a lot of celebrities do this. They'll become very successful, very famous, very internationally recognized, and they'll be doing drugs, right? You see like a lot of rappers like shooting each other and like doing drugs. It's all self-sabotage. And so working the inner game will affect all areas of your life positively, right? And if you don't work on these areas of your life, you can get to high level success still and then watch it all crash and burn.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. And that's the biggest thing I've noticed is that when I'm coaching people, because obviously I have a large amount of hours under my belt for coaching. For you guys that don't know, so in 2019, I did body language mastery, and I did the 4-quarter launch system like now. I did 3 weeks of webinars, no break, and it was only me doing those webinars. So it was quite a grind, because I did that for a whole year. But the thing is, I collected so much data, and that's why I'm able to relate to everybody so well, because I've literally sat down for, God, I could probably say 1,000+ hours for sure. I mean, it's been since 2019. And the thing is, this concept of inner game is very interesting to me. It's basically making sure like you didn't have a fucked up childhood or anything highly emotionally traumatic happening to you that has kind of like emotionally scarred you, that you're always remembering this event or replaying it in your head or thinking, oh, if I just would have done this better, or if a present event kind of reminds you of that past traumatic event, and then you kind of get what they call triggered, and you kind of you snap back to that state of mind that you were in that traumatic moment, and people get caught in this loop. And then this is why you'll see people who buy all the workout gear, have all the supplements, have the money for the personal trainer, but they don't lose the weight because the subconscious version of them is still fat. That's the fat person. The same thing with the people who maybe they get a bunch of financial success, but then they'll go blow it all, and they keep on having this pattern of blowing this money. If you feel like this unconscious, like kind of phantom figure holding you back, that's kind of like what the trauma is. And Paul, you have helped people in the military with this as well, who have gone overseas and had to deal with the consequences of, being a soldier in war. They come back home and, they meet regular people who've never experienced what they've experienced. And you've helped people with a lot of PTSD, like real PTSD, not like my soccer coach yelled at me PTSD,
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, and that's, and to do so without getting on dangerous or consequential drugs from pharmaceutical companies, you know what I mean, that get pushed through. And I'm not anti-medicine at all, just FYI. It's just that the things that gets pushed through with the pharmaceutical industry gets promoted to doctors. Doctors are their understanding of the human body is pharmacology, and they prescribe medicine, drugs to get results. But problem is, for a large portion of the people that might get on some of the SSRIs and some of the sleeping medications is a big one. The long-term effects are not good, right? And so it's better not to go down that pathway if you don't have to. And a lot of guys who've come to me found that they didn't have to, and that's what is really important too. I kind of want to hit this angle again, and I started in on this a little bit already in the beginning, the importance of having an eclectic approach. I wrote about this on my website.
What does eclectic mean?
Eclectic means using multi ways or means to get a job done. So I noticed a guy in the chat, I think he got it removed, but he was like, hypnosis, just go to the gym.
Oh yeah, this guy. Go to the gym and work out until you cry.
Yeah, but guess what though?
That might actually work for some people.
That is one angle, right?
But for other people, they'll do it till they bleed, and it won't
work, and that won't solve everything. And so that's and the way I look at it, there's your unconscious and your mental beliefs and your mental blocks, and then there's also the behaviors and the conditioning. And so when I work with somebody, it's neurobehavioral conditioning. We're changing the way the neurons are connecting and the responses, and then we're applying it to our behavior. And so it's doing both things, and every one of these guys, Justin and Ryan here does a version of that in a way, like, because if you're
Yeah.
taking what you learn from a hypnosis session, for example, and then you're journaling it and you're, looking at actually having awareness of your behavior and making changes and coming back to another session, these are all parts of it. It's like you're not doing just one thing to solve a problem. You're using a number of different things and angles in order to attack a problem. And that's how you solve a problem and also get to higher levels very, very quickly. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm not saying that going to the doctors is bad or something because I said something against pharmaceuticals. I'm not saying that going to a therapist is bad, because it might take a long time. It all depends on the problem, but having an eclectic approach is what's so valuable with what we're going to do with people.
Right.
Because what tends to happen is somebody says, well, here's my discipline. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. And so cognitive behavioral therapy and talk therapy is the hammer. And every problem they have is they're going to hit with a hammer of cognitive behavioral therapy. But maybe something would be better, like EMDR, for example, and they would solve their problem in like 3 sessions instead of, at 2 years, right? Or maybe one hypnosis session or daily meditation and some behavioral changes. Some of the behavioral changes I have guys do on a daily practice when they get in like my mindset programs. Like, you attack it from these different angles. Now all of a sudden you're looking at lasting change and a quick solution to problems too, versus, managing a problem. And that was a big thing too with PTSD, for a long time. First of all, I didn't think I had it because I was super badass, and so I didn't have it until I found myself in some situations where I'm like, okay, I'm going to end up maybe in jail or in a serious problem if, I don't do something about this, because I'm a danger, I could be a dangerous person, and what's going on up here and how I'm interacting with the world is not good. And so once I had awareness of that, I started working. This was years and years ago now. I started working on all this stuff and taking what I learned and as operationally with the psychologist there, from going to school for psychology as well as other training, taking all this stuff I used to be a better operator, applying it to my life and not being a better civilian, right? It started there on myself, but then I always thought I'd just manage PTSD. Like, I always thought I'd just sort of have this like a knee problem you can't get rid of, until I got rid of it. Which is so weird. Like, I have no effects, like none. In fact, I'm better for my experiences. And that's what taking an eclectic approach and hitting things from different angles can do for you. You're not just going in someplace to manage your anxiety. You just don't have anxiety anymore. It's like you wake up one day and all of a sudden the anxiety's not there. And you're like, wait a second, I would have responded in an anxious way to that stimulus there. And I didn't. Wow, that's weird. Like, you just all of a sudden are different. And that's the beauty of what we're doing with people. And what
I feel like there's so many people in America walking around like with something kind of trauma, something torturing them.
Right.
There was this, I was reading, actually, there was this chaplain who wrote, I think in the Army Times, and he cited 2 university studies where they found, one study found that 90% of the students sampled were at least mildly codependent. 90% of the population is a sample of a few hundred. And then another study found out that 50% of their students were moderately to severely codependent. And there are problems in our society. Our society, with its consumerism, with its emphasis on, hey, especially towards guys, man, if you're not a top guy, the women ignore you, you're not good enough, whatever it may be. And a lot of pressure, and a lot of guys just give up. And I do think a majority of our population has stuff they need to resolve. And just to riff off of what Paul said, Paul, I'm in total agreement with you about not only do we have to hit the different levels of consciousness, but we also have to take an eclectic approach. people know me as a hypnosis guy, but what they might not know is 1/3 of my session is spent doing hypnosis. The other 2/3 are doing other techniques.
Yeah,
Because,
that's why I recommend you, by the way. It's
oh,
you're very
thanks,
good
man.
at that.
Well,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be, I don't think anyone should be kept to any one methodology. And when you talk to the client, you figure out what's going on with them, and then say, okay, I'm going to use this tool set for this guy and this tool set for this other guy. But then you address all the levels of consciousness. We get big results. And I'm not saying everyone who comes to us, we knock it out of the park, but a lot of the times we really knock it out of the park. Very rapid results, permanent changes. And it's because we do this.
And I want to add on to that.
If all I did was hypnosis, I would be limiting myself. I would be less effective, even though when done right, it's a very powerful methodology.
Well, I want to add on to that real quick, because I don't endorse anything, nor do I endorse anyone unless I personally go meet the person and see their coaching services and see what their philosophy is on life and stuff. And all three of these gentlemen here have helped me individually. And Justin Mark with the newest one, with the the concept that you talked about, which is adding value, right? I just think
it's beautiful.
Yeah, because so many men feel they have no value, right? And so they think I am valueless, and these are successful individuals. You know what I mean? So you have to understand having value in yourself, and then adding value to a situation because you want to stand out. Because what most people are doing, they're taking value, they're leeching, they're draining people, right? But like Justin said, when you have a healthy inner game, your cup internally is full, and that's what it kind of says in the Bible too. My cup runneth over. I'm abundant. I'm an abundant person. So I don't need your love. I don't need your validation. I don't need from anybody, man or woman. And
because you give it to yourself, you
give it to yourself from an endless source. Most importantly,
core belief,
right? Being the sun. And Paul is spot on too, because like hypnosis is just not like a magic wand you wave and everything is healed, right? There are also like behaviors.
Sometimes it feels like that, but
no.
Depends.
I'm talking about outside the session, because hypnosis they do have an effect, but if your behavioral patterns in your thinking and how you are not congruent with the clean mental state that you want to have, you're not going to get this. If you consistently, watch, consume bad content, right? Or, you consistently engage in like alcoholism or something, you're not facilitating a healthy environment for yourself to have a peace of mind. You know what I mean? There has to be behaviors, and then it also has to be, clearing your internal traumas. It's a balancing act, and it's a thing you have to do for the rest of your life. And it's a maintenance thing. It's like going to the gym. It's like anything. Okay, you have to have mental maintenance. And a lot of people are just zombies. They're fucking cracked out on Instagram. They are cracked out on TikTok. They have no original thoughts. What they believe is like what they get from like this social media collective, which what lizard people are putting out that fucking agenda. I don't know. It's not good. I don't know who's doing it, but whatever it is, it's not good. But a lot of people are just so like they have adrenal fatigue. They're just like they're mentally just wrecked. And so I realized once you clean that up, once you sort out your inner game, and this is a big reason why, and I have changed the show to my morning Tokyo time. Dude, I slept for 10 hours last night. I don't even know how that's possible, but I'm telling you, the mood that I have, the change, because bad sleeping patterns are directly tied to fucked up hormones, fucked up digestion, fucked up looking older. Right. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So now that I'm back on a normal pattern of my circadian rhythm, I feel phenomenal. And like
it's amazing.
It's a big part of the whole game. So
it all matters. Nutrition, fitness, it all matters. It does start with inner game. Inner game is the foundation. Mm-hmm. And I like what you said about maintaining. Everyone don't just do 1 or 2 sessions, you feel better and let it stay there. But it's not just maintaining, it's adding on, because I've been doing this on myself for almost 11 years. The more you do, life just gets better and better and better, and you just keep up leveling. It's crazy. You can go to the pits of hell and be in the worst depression, but you can just keep leveling up with this stuff. And
Yep.
man,
And
Right.
something independently that obviously this is not a guarantee, but we have noticed a correlation with Ryan Fowler and Justin Mark. When they help their clients with their trauma, all of a sudden they start making more money. Justin, you want to tell your personal story about that meditation retreat and the, going
Sure.
in, coming out?
Yeah, so I did something called Vipassana. So it's an ancient meditation technique taught by Buddha. Okay. It's like a 3,000-year-old meditation. And this is a really intensive retreat where you go into the forest for 10 days. You just do nothing but meditate for 10 to 15 hours a day. Meditation. You're waking up at 4 a.m, meditating, stop for breakfast for an hour, then you're back meditating, right? So it's just nonstop meditation. Now there's no phones, there's no internet, there's no talking, there's no socializing, there's nothing but meditation. So you can't be distracted, you can't watch television, there's no reading, there's no fitness, just for 10 days. And by the end of the retreat, you've done about 100 hours of meditation. What was really crazy is the second time I did this retreat, because I've done it 3 times now, it's over 300 hours of meditation in a forest. The second time, I was having these really interesting business ideas. And what was crazy about this is within a few months, it all came to light. And my business went from 0 to 6 figures overnight. I was 22 years old doing like 20, 30 grand a month in revenue, right? Living out of my parents' condo. And it was just insane to see how quickly these results came just by practicing meditation, right? Because really what you learn through the meditation is inner wisdom. A lot of guys don't realize that everything you need is already within yourself, right? So when it comes to working on your inner game, when it comes to working on your inner self, you already have all the answers inside. So sure, John, myself, Paul, Ryan, we can actually give you the right direction. We can actually point in the right direction through what kind of therapies you got to use, what kind of practices you got to use, what kind of techniques you got to use in order to kind of let go of the past trauma, let go of all this unconscious behavior that's supporting you, right? But the truth is, for your life and for the path you're on, everything you need is already within you. And so through what we teach, you can actually unlock that inner wisdom and start living the life you're meant to live. So that means dating the people you want to date, making the money you want to make, the career path, the purpose that you've been put on this earth to have. That's what is going to come from getting a handle on this part of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I want to add on to that, like dating who you want to date. And also, and this is kind of deep, but having the balls to walk away from somebody who's not treating you well. Because a lot of people, you'd be surprised how many dudes stay in these bad relationships and they can't,
because they don't value themselves. They're like, this is what I deserve. Deep down, subconsciously.
they don't value themselves, or they're putting they kind of feel sorry for the girl, and they want to put. But when you feel sorry for a girl and you're staying in a situation for her and not you, like, dude, that's just you're really not looking at yourself as a top priority. That's really what the root of feeling sorry for someone is. It's a deep topic, but like I said, it just keeps on resurfacing in every single client that I'm talking to. It's just, kind of freeing your mind, letting you know what is possible and relieving yourself from this. And again, like I said, all 4 of us here on the panel have come from not like mildly traumatic backgrounds, like intensively traumatic backgrounds, single mother household, you name it. Not Justin. But
we've all had big trauma though.
Yeah, and we've all have overcame it massively. I mean, Justin is blowing the roof off of the people like him and his age compared to what his demographic. He's killing it. I'm killing it for my demographic. I mean, you guys are as well. The average millionaire is 57 years old. We are smashing it over here, and that's like a net worth millionaire, not liquid. So it's all connected. It really is. And that's why we're putting together this thing, and it's going to be far more interactive this year for sure. So that's the Inner Game Healing Summit. So again, to get on the waiting list for it, I mean, we already have people signing up like right now, and it is, like I said, it is going to be life-changing. This is something that I started talking about through my own personal journey. So here it is right here. Go to innergamehealing.com. Just put your email address right here, and then you'll be locked and loaded. We don't spam you, nothing like that. And then on March 30th, we're launching the entire situation again. So we're doing it 4 times this year. We did it 1 time last year. Amazing. Paul, you did the breath work during that whole session. You guys want to talk a little bit about what your area of did you believe your area of expertise is in? Starting with Ryan. We'll go Ryan and then Paul and then Justin and myself.
Yeah. So, hypnosis is the number one tool I use. It's not the only tool I use.
Yeah, you might want to elaborate on the hypnosis too, because I think some people think you're going to hypnotize them.
Yeah. And can I share my own experience, how I came across it?
Sure.
All of that. So I'm not only hypnosis, I'm big on self-hypnosis as well as live sessions. I teach others how to hypnotize themselves, clear their own trauma, but it's not just about taking you from here to, okay, I'm doing okay now. It's really about optimizing your internal world and getting you in the absolute best inner game shape you can be. And, my situation is I used to have very bad depression with some mania, is bipolar type 2 manic depression. At one point, it's diagnosed extreme. It's the worst diagnosis you can get. And, there's various reasons for that. It really is just a very shame-based upbringing. I was the gamma male. I was a virgin until I was 30. I was, the one who was bullied in addition to a very shame-based home life. And I searched, I did 100 CBT sessions, normal talk therapy. And that did help, but it was very slow. It took a long time. I had 100 sessions over 15 years, and I still had a big chunk of depression it would never clear. And so about 10 and a half years ago, I finally found a type of self-hypnosis. A lady who was doing it didn't even call it self-hypnosis. And to this day, after I was just listening to these audios in my bedroom, and it's an interactive exercise. You're not passively listening. You're actively following her instructions. And you're just in a very relaxed state. That's what hypnosis is. In hypnosis, you're still conscious. When I'm with my clients, I'm interacting with them. I'm asking them to say things, imagine things. I'm asking them questions, getting feedback. So it's actually an active process where you go inside and find, excuse me, I'm on the tail end of a cold. So it's a very active process, and that's what I was doing. Just listening to these audios. And after about the third audio, my life at that point, 10 years ago, was just low-level depression. I wasn't feeling terrible, but I wasn't feeling great either. I kind of had a hopelessness. Things aren't going to get any better. And after listening to maybe this audio 3 times, all of a sudden I remember walking up towards my car. And I stopped in the middle of the stairway going to my driveway, and I just said, I'm happy for no reason. What the hell is going on here? It was shocking to me because nothing good had happened that day. But I was happy for no reason. And within 2 months, my depression was completely gone forever. I had an inner critic, an accusing voice. I got rid of that. I eventually got rid of anxiety, all these other issues. Within 2 years, my income doubled, and then it doubled again. And it's not a coincidence that when I did this inner healing, that my income went up. And then I met you, Jonathan, and I was actually MGTOW for a while because I figured, I can validate myself. I can be happy. I don't need a woman to validate me. So why chase women? After a while, I decided, I really do. Because men and women are meant to be together, and we're meant to have positive interactions one with another. That's when I met you. I up-leveled that, and to this day, things keep getting better and better. I'm living my dream life. I'm living, I guess I won't go too much into that, but I do that for my clients too. Everyone here on this panel knows what it's like to suffer. And we also know how good things can get when you get on the other side. It really does get pretty freaking awesome. I think everyone here is living their dream life. Everyone here is their own boss, making really high income, doing what they want, happy, having the love life they want. So yeah, hypnosis is my key, but there's more to it than that. There's self-talk, there's other techniques as well.
I think the biggest thing is that is valuable from us is we're all 4 of us. We are all free. Like we're not controlled by anybody. And that's just, right. I mean, is that not the best way to live? I don't know. I could not. I don't know. For me personally, that's my best choice. you know.
And we
I
all
know
believe in ourselves and our abilities.
yeah, exactly. We know, and we know we add value. We know we literally know that we add value. Paul, did you want to go ahead and just give a quick little?
Yeah. My journey was really long and laborious to get where I'm at. So
Well,
I'll
it was
just
more
kind of
about
give you
just
the.
your it was more about your specialization, what you bring, what you're going to be bringing to the table in your game
Yeah, of
healing.
course.
No.
So what I do is best described as neural behavioral conditioning. So we make changes at the neural level of the brain, the way that using neuroplasticity and the way that your brain, whenever you learn something or unlearn something, your brain makes changes with how the neurons are connecting and firing. All right. And so we have different methodologies and ways of tapping into that, using different states of consciousness, different emotional and physical and mental states to have both awareness of what needs to be changed and then to condition and move things in the direction of those changes. All right. And so sometimes we'll use hypnotherapy or EMDR therapy. There's a talk therapy element to what I might do. There's practices that will allow you to behaviorally recondition stuff. There's breath work that will allow you to have controls of your states. And there's all different kinds of modalities, meditation, there's walking and morning routines. There's different things depending on the problem someone's trying to solve or the goal that they're trying to achieve. And so it's in a process of removing blocks and mental blocks, opening things up, and then finding new ways of thinking and approaching problems or solutions or goals, and then conditioning those, right? So you might have bad patterns, for example, that cause you to not be as successful, let's say, in your job, right? And so we get different awareness of what those patterns actually are, what emotions and thoughts and things that are there that might be holding you back from making changes. And then we start to strip away those bad patterns and create new patterns. And the brain is actually designed to do this somewhat on its own in a way where it helps you. So really just nudging the brain in the right direction to build a more efficient, effective pattern to get what you want. And then we have you reinstitute and reinstill those patterns on a regular basis so that you now develop new habits. And when I say habits, your emotions are habits. So I'll give you an example. Like, let's say at some point someday, and some of you guys get really angry when you run into traffic jams. You're driving down the street, traffic happens, it's unexpected, and you get pissed off. All right, so that's a response. It's on a response on an emotional level. It affects your thinking, it affects your mental framework, right? So some point in your life, you were expecting to get somewhere at a specific time and you ran into unexpected traffic, and that caused you stress, frustration, anger. That happened maybe, and it happened maybe another time. That condition now a response of frustration, anger when traffic happens. And so now you're just driving down the street heading home. Let's say you got nothing planned. It doesn't matter if you get home at 5:15 or 5:30. You run into traffic and your mind state's now thrown off. Now you're mad, right? Because the pattern that you've conditioned that your brain saw as a solution to a problem at some point is now stepping into play and maybe screwing you up for the rest of the evening, perhaps, or for at least that moment. And that's just a small example. You know what I mean? And so we have these bad, poor patterns conditioned. Now we can take this into childhood trauma. We can take this into, rejection from women and from social circles and things of that nature. And we can now look at how these created patterns for you. And some of you guys walk around and you have trouble making social connections, friends, girlfriends, getting women to like you, getting people to want to hire you, getting people to want to work with you, attracting good people in your life because your social connections are impaired. Your ability to make social connections are impaired due to patterns that you don't even see. You're not even aware of them. And so what I do with people is I have a bunch of different exercises and modalities that help them become aware of those patterns and then start stripping away the bad ones, creating new ones, and then conditioning those in terms of behaviors. And again, there's a ton of different ways I do that, ranging from hypnotherapy to EMDR therapy to NLP to, I'm also, use something called practical shamanism to get people in different states. I know it sounds a little flaky or weird, but it's all backed by science. Everything I do has a scientific paper behind it. And so, and as a coach, basically a mindset performance coach in the capacity I'm working with somebody in this, when I'm working with somebody in this capacity, I'm looking at the most efficient and effective way to tailor a solution to their problem. And then we solve it. So that's essentially what I'm doing, and I do it with guys in groups kind of thing, because sometimes people have similar problems, right? And then we can sort of combine some things together. And I do it individually with guys who can get me on an individual consult. I have a mindset course that has 52 different modules of different modalities of things to do to behaviorally recondition yourself. And so it's just a number of different things. I'm pretty eclectic in my background. I've been doing this stuff, got started in university, branched off, got certifications, used applied performance psychology in the military. And all that stuff has sort of come together for me to be able to coach guys with this eclectic approach. And so, I'll probably be doing breath work for the course we're going to do, but I literally will look at the clients, what they've signed up for, what they need, what everybody else is doing. And then I'll base what I do with those guys in session off of that, because I have a number of different things I can do with them. Yeah. You're muted, I think.
Yeah, it's me. Sorry. I love it. And Mr. R40 says John and Paul make a dynamic duo. We already do if you watch our live streams. But Paul really kind of opened my eyes to thinking about the multifaceted approach, like the EMDR. For me, to this day, I love doing the walking meditation because my mind is always racing. I think a lot of people's minds are racing these days, and going out, getting a walk, and making an exercise out of it mentally.
It's super simple and it works.
Yeah, no,
I have a dog 2 walks a day.
Yeah, I have my dog too. You process so much. I want to talk about me and Justin real quick. So me and Justin digitally met just through being in the same circles, and then it was so interesting because you had this big part of your entire brand talking about inner game and releasing trauma and stuff, and almost nobody does that. And we just came together by chance, completely not related. But then what's even crazier is that when we first actually linked up and hung out, it was it was fluid. There was no awkward period. We were just on the same vibe. You're the man, you're killing the game. And then how did you put 2 and 2 together? Because most people don't put together inner game, self-esteem equals money, women, the body that I want, literally almost everything.
Yeah, so I came from a really weird background where I grew up with manic depression. I had every mental disorder that a man can have in modern society, from obsessive compulsive disorder, ADHD, really bad depression. And all of this would lead me down a path of a really low self-esteem because you have all these issues. And what happens is this makes you feel like you're not a well-developed person. This makes you feel like there's something wrong with you. So growing up, I just felt like there was something wrong with me. I felt like I was just not right in the head. And I kind of just accepted it, right? But it's a really sad thing to just accept that you're going to live a very average or below average mundane life. And I remember thinking, I just wish I could be average. I remember my self-esteem was so low. I just wished I could be average. My goal was never to be extraordinary. It was just to be average. And when I realized that, wow, you can actually work on self-development. You can hit the gym. You can work on your inner self. To me, that was revolutionary. It was such a crazy concept. So what would happen is I would get high level success at a very young age. I was 20 years old, had millions of views on social media. I was running a business, and I would have a lot of successes or even intimate relationships. But then a lot of these things would end up imploding. A lot of these things would end up kind of crashing and burning and fizzling out. What was happening was I had a lot of self-sabotage because the, abusive upbringing I came through, family issues, a lot of deep trauma, childhood trauma, mental barriers, success barriers, right? All of it was subconscious. So on a conscious level, I'd force myself to become successful. I'd force myself with the habits to, wake up early, hit the gym, do all these things to, accomplish success, right? By 21 years old, I had a bachelor's degree. I was doing a lot of these things to accomplish success, but then, the success would fizzle out and I would constantly find myself starting back at ground zero, starting back at square one. And the reason for that was self-sabotage. So I started doing a lot of research on how to overcome self-sabotage, how to overcome, these weird mental blockages. And it led me to realize that in order to increase your success and stay there at the same time, you need to actually work on your self-esteem. You can't just work on your outer accomplishments. You have to work on what's on the inside. And so that means trauma release therapy. That means meditation. That means doing things like psychedelic therapy. It means like working on what's really going on inside. And I realized that traditional therapy was too slow of a process, right? Because I've tried that. I'm sure a lot of you guys have tried that, just trying normal traditional therapy to try to slowly, work through, inner trauma and all that stuff. It's too slow. It's way too slow. And so I realized that there needs to be a faster process. So doing things such as affirmations, goal setting, inner child meditation, death meditation, all these deep therapeutic practices that you can find for free on YouTube. You can go to other coaches for, right? I was just doing all these things. I was trying anything I could possibly try to get to a higher level very quickly of inner game. And what I found happened, this is probably in about 2016, is I started having women flock to me, right? It was crazy. The real turning point was I was going through a really bad breakup and it was just so hard for me emotionally. So I just immersed myself in self-development, reading every day, meditation, hitting the gym, affirmations, goal setting, right? But just doing really deep inner work and constantly thinking about how I can improve kind of my inner masculine core. And what I found was happening was all of a sudden women who didn't find me attractive before are finding me attractive, all of a sudden making more money, all of a sudden things are just starting to align. And now instead of sabotaging my successes, the successes stay and now I can build upon them. And that was huge because all of a sudden it's like, I can actually keep going forward. So you'll see a lot of guys who, maybe they'll get a hot girlfriend, then they burn the bridge with a girlfriend or, something happens, the girlfriend leaves them, right? Or you'll see a lot of guys land a really good paying job, then all of a sudden they get fired, right? And so by working on your inner self and your inner core, working on your inner game, all of a sudden you can let go of those past traumas. All of a sudden you can let go of those past belief systems. And so through doing a lot of these kind of self-development practices that would really work on what's in your inner self, I'd be able to cure, I truly believe I've cured my depression, cured my obsessive compulsive disorder, and really been able to maintain a lot of the things that were limiting me, the limiting beliefs out the window. Now I feel like I'm unstoppable. I'm 27 years old and I live in like a $2.5-3 million penthouse overlooking the city of Toronto, right? I've done so much with my life at such a young age because now instead of having those limiting beliefs or those belief systems that were not supporting me, now I believe I'm unstoppable and I can change the world, right? And so through doing deep inner work, you can actually really get to a high level very, very quickly.
I love it. I love it a lot.
Yeah. I vouch. The ladies love this guy, by the way. Right? The chicks love this dude. I'm just gonna say it right now. They love this guy. He's not BSing or capping on the internet right now, man. No. I got the receipts. I know. I went to visit.
No, listen, this guy, he is living it on a very, very, very high level. And yeah, like I'm saying, that's where it's all. And I'm kind of just. I'm going to be more of like a facilitator for your guys' lives. I'm able to look at like the way you're living and optimize it. I'm an optimizer. And so again, when it comes to my personal journey,
take my money.
Thanks for the donation. I'll read in a second. The one dono. I lost my train of thought, son of a bitch.
Well, outer game is important too, Jonathan.
Oh yeah.
Inner game, and then you get your outer game, and that's
right. Yeah, the structure of it all, and there is a direct correlation. I'm not even trying. This is going to sound like gimmicky, but I swear, after I had like a pretty deep session in November of 2021 with Paul and Ryan, I swear to God, like right after, I attracted some of the hottest girls.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, I don't know.
It's
There's
not
something.
it's not magic.
Yeah.
It's what happens is your inner game affects how your body looks, like how you literally, your posture, your
Yes.
sub communication, and all of these things. What it illustrates is a stronger genetic option for mating. You know what I mean? Like there's sub communications that women are picking up on and getting attracted to. They don't
noticed all that.
know, they're not aware of it. And when you just have that and have that confidence, but it's not, you can tell someone to be confident or whatever, but they can't fake that because they can make a try, you know, and then they're going to get mixed results. But when you have your inner game in order, it's not an act now. You know what I mean? You're not even thinking about it. And what's nice about having your inner game in order too is that you can be present with your social connections. So I think a lot of people, because we're social animals, so social connections, including mating, okay, like getting good, beautiful women, being able to have good relationships in your lives, that's important because that's on an instinctual level. If we don't have that part sorted out, we're not going to be necessarily right because our instincts tell us that we want to connect with people socially, we want to mate. You know what I mean? And if we are hindered from doing that, now I'm not talking about an 80-year-old guy who's cool, like his wife died and he's cool being single and never touching a woman again. It's fine. But he had that abundance. You know, it's not something that you can't do, right? It's something that you're able to do. You're able to have women. You're able to attract people, whether it's socially with business, whether it's the opposite sex. Well, that stuff happens because you're not held back by what's going on in here. So you can be present socially. You can have social empathy, hear what someone else is saying, and actually respond to that person and make a connection because you can see what they're experiencing. If somebody's, you know, being turned off by you a little bit, like you can notice that, know how to respond appropriately, right? Versus guys, most people are just so caught up in their own heads, they don't realize it. You know what I mean? And they're unable to make these social connections. So just removing stuff that's holding you back, you know, you're just relaxed and have that calm confidence. All of a sudden, women are attracted to you. And you're like, what the hell? Where'd that come from? You know, it's a great thing. It's not magic. It's definitely based in reality and based in action and behavior.
Yeah, a big part of inner game is getting out of your fucking head because some of these guys they just sit there and they're in their head and they don't go and talk to girls. Like, you know, when you were getting angry in the club was so because you actually give a shit about your client's success to the point that you get angry. You're like, you guys just can't sit here and not talk to girls and expect something to happen. Like a lot of guys are like, what if I, you know, if I buy brand names, then you guys think the girls are gonna come to you. Like you can't.
They still smell your insecurity though
Yeah.
if you got issues.
Yeah. But the fact that they're afraid to talk to a girl alone is an issue internally more so than it is externally. And then that is going to affect the quality of woman that's going to take interest in you.
Absolutely. It's all psychological, right? Because if you don't feel like the woman would like you and you don't want to walk up to her. And it's like you reject yourself before she even has a chance to reject you. Right. So it's all mental. And you see this with so many guys. I would say like 80% of guys are like this. Most guys in general have just a horrible approach anxiety. And if you think about it, right, if you truly loved yourself, if you truly had an amazing self-esteem, you wouldn't have any approach anxiety. Right. So by working on what's in the inner game, the outer world follows. Right. When you work on yourself and your character, your confidence, you're just gonna have the ability to attract beautiful women seamlessly. And because most other guys aren't doing this, you pretty much are going to be the guy getting all the girls.
Yeah. I'd really like to riff on anxieties, especially approach anxieties, because I help a lot of guys with that. And, you know,
that's that's the biggest thing. That's the number one reason guys don't get the girls that they want is they're afraid to talk to them, or they feel like they're not good enough. They feel like I need more money. They're missing the connection. They're like, they think I just need more money. I just need more, you know, whatever. but you don't. You just need to find the right girl that's down for you. Like they just think these physical things are gonna like women are gonna be like, oh, I'm like now magically can see your value, and it's really sad, honestly.
Well,
No.
I'd like to maybe just give like just a real brief explanation of what is going on in your inner world that causes approach anxiety, because I help guys with this all the time. So I'll ask guys, the reason we have anxiety, we get anxiety anytime our brain sees there's potential for emotional pain, more or less. With approach anxiety, 100%. So I'll ask guys who have issues with approach anxiety, what happens when you do talk to an attractive girl and she rejects you? I'll get one of two answers. The first will say, oh, I feel horrible, I feel unattractive, ugly, I'm embarrassed, I approach her, etc. It's like, that's why you have the anxiety, because your brain knows if things go poorly, you're going to feel like crap. Your brain doesn't want you to feel like crap. Anxiety is part of our flight response. There's potential pain here. Just don't do it. That's what's going on. Now, there are some guys who they have approach anxiety. 8 out of 10, 9, 10 out of 10 can be really high. And I ask him, well, when you do approach a girl and she does reject you, how do you feel? Some say, well, I'm glad that I was brave enough to approach her. I didn't feel that bad. Why do they have anxiety if there's no pain getting rejected? I always ask them, I say, how do you feel when you see that attractive girl? You say you should approach her and you don't. They say, I feel like a coward, I'm a pussy, I'm not enough of a man, I'm a piece of shit, etc. That pain too causes anxiety. Fight or flight, anxiety is part of the flight response. It's a very ancient program. All it sees is the situation, the potential for pain, and even if the pain comes from avoiding it, it still gives you anxiety. It just wants you to get out of there. And what's really going on is this, I'm not good enough. If I don't approach her, I'm not good enough. And now I feel like crap. I feel like a loser. If I do approach her and she rejects me, I'm not good enough. I'm a reject. I'm a loser. So we go into your core and we get that crap out of you. And now you realize, you know what? I have value. Whether I don't need to approach this girl to be good enough. I don't need to get this girl's acceptance to be good enough. I'm good enough just for who I am. And you get that down in your core. Guess what? That's true confidence. And what I noticed for myself is when I got this in me, all of a sudden my SMV went a full point up. It's just like all of a sudden I was getting girls a full point hotter just by having real confidence. I used to, and my approach anxiety went down, way down. You might still have a little because of some instinct, like 2 out of 10. But I'll tell you something. I used to know exactly what shit tests were, where women will push at your little insecurities to see how much of a man you are, test your subconscious. I mean, they don't consciously know what they're doing, but everyone knows what shit tests are. I knew what shit tests were, and I would always fail them, even though I knew what they were. I'm like, this girl shit testing me. I would still fail it because she would trigger my insecurity. I would start feeling insecure, and I would act according to my insecurity, feeling not good enough. You cure your inner game. I was on a date a couple of weeks ago, and like 4 times during the night, the girl's like, are you looking at my boobs? She was like, shit testing me. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to keep looking, you know? And I honestly, my internal world was, I don't care. Like in the past, I'd feel bad. I'm like, oh no, you know, this girl caught me, whatever. Now I just legit, it's like, you know, I'm a man. This is what men do. Yeah. Yeah. What's the problem?
Well,
you know,
I want to pitch.
and I naturally pass them now.
So like, yeah. So this is interesting thing. I said it on my last Tuesday noon show was shame doesn't cause you to fix yourself or change anything. Accountability does.
Yes.
All right. And so like
True.
what shame does for you is it puts you into the identity of being that failure that you're ashamed of. It puts you into that identity. So you end up you feel it becomes almost addicting. People are actually addicted to their own shame and their own negative feelings in a lot of ways, because they'll get that anxiety, the bad feelings. Anxiety is designed in order to, anxiety is not objective. It's always designed to look for things to support itself. You know what I mean? Because if you think of it like this, if I hear rustling in the bushes and I just immediately start running and I get a deep anxiety and fear, well, I just saved myself in tribal times from maybe a pack of wolves, right? Now, it could have been a pack of hot girls that wanted to mate, but, you know, I kept myself alive and out of danger, right? When it could have been nothing. So it's an instinctual response where it's designed to support itself, not find reality or truth. So whatever you're anxious of, you in an anxious state or in feeling shameful, also, you're looking for all of the evidence to support the shame and anxiety, and you actually get a dopamine hit for finding those things. So yeah, I'm a piece of crap. I found the evidence, and it's a dopamine hit, even though it's also really bad negative feelings. And then what ends up
Right.
happening is you
Get
end up
addicted.
doing
Yeah.
it. You end up
Yeah.
continuing to do the same thing. You find this with guys who have compulsions or have things like that they do that they feel really bad about doing them, and then they do it again. They do it again. And why do I keep doing this? I'm a piece of crap. They're just supporting with shame that identity. Accountability is how you fix it,
Right.
So having awareness of what it is, knowing that's not good behaviors. Why did I do those behaviors? What is the story I'm telling myself? What need am I trying to achieve by doing this thing I don't want? And then how can I get my needs met by changing and doing a better behavior and actually being the identity that I want to become, not being this person who does these other things. That's more accountability. You know what I mean? And so, actually righting the wrong, not feeling bad about the wrong, and then continuing to do the wrong. So, a lot of people get addicted to this shame stuff and they think that, well, I did bad things. I need to feel bad about it and this and that. But then they're not changing their lives. It's holding them back. And,
Right.
every one of us here have different ways of removing that and getting rid of that and behaviorally reconditioning something else. And that's another thing I wanted to say to support everybody here is that I'm a really practical person. Like I'm almost skeptical, even though I use shamanic practices to
You
create
use it
different
because it
states.
works. That's why.
I use it because it works. Exactly.
Exactly. Who
And
cares if it's woohoo? If it's working, do it.
that's it, is right. And so it's everyone here has an action component. Nobody
Right.
is just doing, because that's another thing. People in the sort of the mental help mindset industry, they get addicted to doing mindsets all the time and never doing anything in their lives. You got people who are doing drugs, meditating all the time and not accomplishing anything and suffering in every parts of their lives. It's like there's got to be a behavioral action component. Everybody here does. Ryan does, hypnosis and hypnotherapy, but he has these other components that also take things to action from what they're finding out in session.
Yeah, I do a lot of
Justin,
mindset and self-talk and other stuff too. Yeah.
right. And now Justin, he's taking guys in a lot of different ways, but in boot camp scenarios, they're doing inner work. But now get your ass out there and talk to these people, make some social
Flying them.
connections. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And again, if you're not, I'm going to be a drill sergeant and be like, what are you doing? Why are you sitting here? Why are you there? Go do that, And that's the action component. That's what a good coach does, So we're taking things, when I get a guy and he's telling me how depressed he is, and I go, let's go over the basics. What's your diet, sleep schedule, and exercise schedule like? And they go, then I go, hey, guess what? You got to do the basics, man. Come on. Let's start there, right? And then we'll work deeper on the other stuff. Like, you know what I mean? I told you last week you needed to do this, right? So we need to be
Yeah.
accountable to yourself, right? A little bit of a push, a little bit of drill sergeant there. It does work, So it's not a woo-woo, inner game, everybody, let's go, hold hands and send a circle and then not actually do anything. No, like there's an action component here. When you guys work with us, you're going to get, we're going to attack problems. We're going to tackle solutions and you're going to action them. And it may be a little uncomfortable, but that's good because discomfort is how you make change. You know what I mean?
Well, look, we're going to be talking about this and so much more. So on this channel, I'm going to be live streaming in the month of March. We're just dedicating towards Inner Game. You'll be seeing all these faces again and more. And again, go to innergamehealing.com right there and just get on the list. People are already getting on right now. And people were getting on the waiting list, like literally have 100 plus. I actually have more. I have several hundred people already on the waiting list from last year. We only did this one time last year. We're bringing it back because people said they wanted more. And then after this is concluded, we have premium access to VIP events that are members only, that will only be discussed in the Telegram chat in the Inner Game Healing. And everything's going to be locked down. It's going to be private. So once you're in, you're in. And, you know,
This
I'm
is
looking
half of
forward-
last year and much more content, man.
Dude,
It's a
this is
steal.
like, if you take this seriously, it will change your life. That's all I'll say. If you take this seriously, it will change your life. I'm confident. And look at the panel of guys here. If you respect us, you know, this is a big component of our lives. Until then, we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.